forgot something over on turn 2. I had to check at the end of the turn if the central powers leave the game. On a 1 or 2 they did. Nope, they're still around. You get all the different great powers kind of disappearing at appropriate times. There are modifiers on that sucker. I don't know if they're... Yeah, if somebody actually controls them, and if certain cards are played, they stay in longer. I got the infighting to deal with now. Each side is in play with infighting, and I'm going to move these into my discard piles. Hopefully I'll remember it until the end. Red got a desertion. And what that means is at the end of the action phase, if Red's behind in Victory City. Now, this is checked each turn, a new one might happen. If Red's behind in Victory Cities, you determine a random region that there's going to be a problem in. This is another factor in this game, is that, so I would almost have suggested that Red infighting and White infighting, to tell you the truth, got worse as they did better. But maybe my history isn't that good. But that was my impression from the reading of the history, that it would have served as a nice balancing factor. Instead, it's more of a snowball factor. For example, if Red's doing poorly, well, the desertions come apart. Now, that makes some sense if Red is being defeated. That's, you know, like the defeatism one here. It kind of makes sense that they would lose some morale there. But it also strikes me that infighting becomes more likely. And let's see, what do we got here? I'm trying to see how you end it. So the end of infighting, well, eliminating Lenin causes a problem, which makes sense. But there's no other modifier based on that. And it wouldn't make sense that the infighting would completely end based on things going poorly. What would make sense is that, anyway, yeah, is that while things were really desperate, there would be more likelihood for coordination. That's my reading of certain aspects. Anyway, the Don Cossacks are the draw for the Whites. Now, that's one that they can ignore. It would cost them 2 victory points to do it, and that's a pretty big hit. But this is what they're built up on. What it means is those units can't attack, and the leaders can't use their capabilities. That destroys the White position that was planning on advancing at this point. Ouch. I don't think I can pay 2 victory points, but I think it does change where my concentration is going to be for the turn. Now, these are hidden until the end of the action phase, and then they're revealed. However, you have to abide by them, or, I mean, in the case of the ones that you actually do have a secret had to abide by, if you broke it, whether intentionally or not, you pay your victory points, and, you know, it's your option. There's no, it's not a violation of the rules to break it. Now, let's see what we've got here. This indicates 8 action cards, 6 rounds. That's the same as last time. So let me set that up. I got the little red thing to indicate that they used a replacements card there, not a reinforcement, but that's okay. And now go on to the political phase, because we have a lot more turns with political phases. How many turns are there? Oh, only 16. Okay. I really like the political aspect of the game. So both of my players are playing heavily on there, which is going to randomize things a lot. Some big and obviously probably important cards for the most part, although red blasts their way into this. And that's going to be big because that says a 4-point difference. I'm going to get to pick 2 cards from here. The other 2 are going to be 3 at random, though, which is obviously less powerful because we just put so much strength into these. I should be rolling dice for these, but I'm just trying to play with different hats on instead of, you know, exploring different strategies or whatever. And My guts are telling me, hey, control of these is too important. It may be completely wrong, though. Red had a powerful hand this turn. The card I had this Fear of the Teutonics, which I don't remember seeing before. I must have thrown it early in the first phase because we used up all our cards. But I'm planning on playing the Red Army Reorganizes. Now that's a big step. That's going to hurt my replacements and reduces my amount of reinforcement cards I can play this turn. But it looks like it must be important in terms of what it's going to allow later. And I want to set myself up for those later turns. In particular, I didn't use my bluff or my influence there. Red picks are actually a couple of factors here. One is get rid of a white gets bonus stuff card. And also, let's try to push Finland. Now, this has some issues with the Czech legions getting some points. And also some possible losses. Transcaucasus, I think there were some white points in that. The Czechs I was kind of fighting against, and I'm a little worried about that possibility. But let's see what else we get here. And we'll calculate these all out as they come out. Just looking to see if there's anything interesting that comes out of them automatically, since these were all random. If selected by red, no. Okay. So I'll calculate out the results and come back with a report. Now the chips seem to be coming in pretty well for red at this point. They added Turkestan to their forces, which puts in a threat on the white home area in the Urals. The white looks like it's in a serious danger here, given the infighting situation here where I can't attack unless I take a loss. It also added 2 victory point cities, I believe, to red. But white got the Czech Legion up to support again, which means they got their victory point city there. So that kind of evens that out a little bit. What else happened? France got thrown over to red. That doesn't mean France is going to start sending any troops. It just means it's much harder for the white to get France out of there. This is a 3-point move, for example. So that's, I don't know how many French there are. The French can't come in until the Germans come in. I doubt that there's too much. But who knows what I've got in these piles here for 1919. There's a big pile of troops for all kinds of forces based on the cards from there. What I got here is actually the biggest of the factions anyhow. They're the most interested here, but we don't know what, well, no, not the biggest of the factions. The biggest of the foreign power factions other than the Czechs. What else? We got Poland over into the red. No clue what that's going to be meaning. I was told fear the Polish rules, and yeah, I already kind of do. We still got Belarus there. Nothing new over here. I think West Ukraine went over to white. I forgot to give myself the card for that. That's not going to matter because the Germans are still on the board. But boy, when the Germans leave, a lot of this stuff is already divvied up. So we're going to see the factions kind of jump into play. Shit. These two spaces that are real close ain't connected. This space isn't connected. These are all out of supply. They would have been at the end of last turn. They're all eliminated. I think the whites are screwed. Let's move this. Well, this is all not white. So I don't need a marker for that. That just got rid of Denikin, which may actually change my desire. I have a card which removes Denikin that I haven't been wanting to play, but these are just dead permanently. Ouch. West Ukraine couldn't have been white either. Sorry, West Ukraine. Prerequisite political phase, white. AC number 15. That's the card I have in my hand. I think I'll end up playing that. Just because I'm missing some of the negative effects of it. I think I'm going to be playing a lot of events here as white. This is the Russian political control. I can move To white control Belarus, Ukraine, and West Ukraine. I get IPs in each of them, but red ones in Britain and the Central Powers. Denikin's removed from the game. I'll get another infighting chit. I want to know that early in case it's something I need to do. See, the problem with that is that second infighting chit could be a restriction that I don't want to draw early, or it could be something that I want to know that I need to do. I think I want to draw it early because I don't think my Siberians are particularly going to be doing anything. And now I get a modifier on the red version of this, which hasn't been played. So I'm going to go with this. It looks like things are pretty hopeless, and I'm hoping something crazy like this will shake things up and help them. We'll see. Fighting one's a dangerous one, but I'm glad I know about it. If I lose a victory city, I'm going to lose 3 of the uncontrolled political markers are going to move 1 space in red's favor. Not good at all. Am I likely to lose this city? I don't see one that looks like it's going to fall. We'll see. This one could switch. I could conceivably lose control of that somehow, I guess. But oh boy, I'm going to have to defend up here. Turkestan can run up there. Now, how willing are they to do that? Well, they want to get victory cities, so there's a good chance they might head that way. I just noticed that Khiva is its own little region down here, different from Turkestan, whatever that matters. Turkestan has a long walk to get into the Urals. Now, they can actually do it, but there's a restriction here to entering these boxes until AC 42. I'm not going to get that, so I guess that move's not going to be in play here. Action card 42 has not been played. This was not that big an advantage then. I was kind of aiming for it and thinking, oh, cool. So that took away a victory point city. Another thing that I want to point out, so Astrakhan is sitting here in a white supply zone. They're not out of supply because this is Astrakhan's victory point city for the region. So just like with Turkestan, but that's not as big an issue. The army of that faction can draw supply from there, but other red armies I don't think can draw from that. That's not that big a deal. I've got other sources, but I got to figure out what the hell to do with my reds now. I was going to make a quick run up, but there's a lot of 1 boxes here, and I can't enter. I'm realizing my whites couldn't have gotten down here. I'll leave it alone, but there's no way of moving between these two. There's no connection there. I really hate point-to-point movement. Action is so painful. I've gotten more used to this in at the CDGs, the more complex ones especially, where you really have to puzzle over a card, and then the actions on the map is really tough. So in this case, we're seeing kind of this push downward, but also this leapfrogging taking place where I'm pushing a unit down. Now, it would be more efficient if I could stack and then move an entire stack, but I want to gain control of spaces so that I can launch my attacks in the next turn and presumably kind of cut off the whites here. Now, these whites are in a lot of trouble. And that means I've kind of got to do something, either reinforce their position or pull them out of that hole, or maybe some combination of the two to defend this line here a little better. I've got this other risk of the Astrakhan troops. I can't fight back either, and that's something the Reds don't know. Then I've also slipped a unit over here into Uralsk with the intention of making an attack over on the Urals. And there isn't a lot I can do about that either with what I've got available. I've got a couple of little corps here. I've got some armies that I never adequately reinforced, but white's really screwed this one up pretty badly, I think. And that can go away. White pulled back a little bit. Now red has kind of filled in a little. The Astrakhan unit pushing forward here. This is not red. I should put a little white marker there just to ensure that. This I actually moved Stalin down and back up to gain control of the space. Not for any terribly great reason, but controlling a space is kind of valuable if things go weird. It could be useful for launching an attack. The biggest thing is I'm moving a red army out this way. I noticed I got a couple of Siberian Corps here, so I can't just launch an attack with a couple of these corps onto here. I could, of course, though, shift. I could use the army to launch that attack, and that's putting a definite threat on the position that the whites have there. Played their initiative card, the interrupt, basically. They can't play this because they played AC number 3, if I recall correctly. Yeah, the Don Caucasus troops. And grabbed themselves some reinforcement points, 3 replacement points. Ah, shit, I got some extra points somewhere coming into me. So like Turkestan, I believe, produces points. I gotta look and see what the bonus points are. I know some of the new factions produce some that I didn't mark. Unfortunately, they're probably for red, and red's planning on playing this where they're not allowed to actually take any replacements they play, which is why they haven't done any. Oh, what's my... my restriction is I want to make sure I have my victory cities ahead or something like that. Red launched an attack from here and here. They moved into place there. They also grabbed this space and pushed these armies back, and that destroyed this good volunteer army. This is never coming back because it has a dot on it. Now the Galician army is getting shoved deeper into Kuban. Kind of screwed the pooch. They were trying to prevent this attack on the Urals. They played a green uprising, but it came out with the worst result of 6, which allowed red to place the green. And no effect would have been just as bad, really. The ones that red placed aren't terribly destructive to white, although this one has just cut this unit off because the attack that went in there took this. That ends up giving another replacement the reds probably aren't going to get. Give them an IP that they threw into... Jeez. They threw into the Ukraine. I negated a white IP with that. It all they balance out that way. And then a lucky attack by red moving here. Astrakhan won the battle here, and these corps pushed forward and wrecked things there. So we're really, you know, kind of taking some chances, but rubbing out the white power base in this turn, and with the Cossacks really unable to do anything about it at this point. You know, yeah, I could launch attacks with this or with this Russian elite or whatever, but I think this force here is mixed. I don't know. Hard to tell. Anyway, they've been pretty much handcuffed because of the infighting ones, and now they've got serious problems. They've lost a victory city, so they're going to have a penalty for that as well from their other chip. So the reds are kind of mopping up here. Pulls out, crossing all these road 2s. Got a lucky run back. Still can't quite make it to Orsk. Now Orsk was open. The reds could have moved there. They used a 1-point no card special activation action. A lot of options they had here. One was grabbing Orsk, but they didn't want to do that. They figured they've got the military advantage over here. The terrain just doesn't connect things, so it's, you know, the one rail line is all that you're going to get into anywhere. So this core they figure they can beat, although that's a supply center, so an army could show up there for all I know. Couldn't do anything to save this for white. But basically, if I sent my army here, that leaves this open, and then white can save itself, and we couldn't have that. So instead we threw another core into there, and the plan is, well, that'll serve as something of a garrison for any attack that happens. Now we're on the last card. White used one of the cards they wanted to play in order to do the maneuvers to pull back from the defeat that they're really suffering here. Ooh, I forgot to launch this attack that I was planning on doing. So let's take care of that. And we end the turn with a couple of event cards. White's decided to throw the Czech Legion commits into play, which brings a leader in for us, Gajda. He's dangerous, though. He can cause problems for me because apparently he's not terribly loyal. He has these pooches. And the Reds decided to throw their Red Army Reorganizes, which doesn't do anything good. Except these cards coming forward, the Konarmilya forces. And Soviet Klansmen. But I figure I can afford to not pursue further. Oh, the Finns failed up here. Of course, they were making a low odds attack. What with the bonuses there, but I'm looking at. I got to take some risks here. Of course, they went against me. The Czechs they wouldn't be able to attack this turn, which is one reason I held the card till last, and also it's a powerful card. I might have been able to do something cool with it. I've got some replacement points. I'm going to have to. I got a core I can build. That's about it. I got problems with the Finns. I can't build their army, even if I had a way to do so. For the simple fact that I don't have any more Finnish core in here. So if the Finns get reduced, they're not gonna. Their army would be destroyed immediately, completely if that happened. But I don't think I can rebuild their army anyway, because I don't have Helsinki. So I think Mannerheim's failed up here. I think overall it's just, the Whites have just been losing everywhere. Shows what happens when you don't know what you're doing, right? But we'll just keep playing Soldier God and see what ends up happening. I'm curious about the Polish situation and a lot of other things. I don't think White has a shot here, but it would be interesting to see what some of the other factions end up aligning as or whatever. Oh, all right. Let me start figuring the end of turn stuff. First thing that happened was the Central Powers pulled out of the war's over, and the Central Powers pulled out of Russian territory. And that changes everything. Not for White's liking, to tell you the truth. They gain Latvia and Estonia and a couple of stones there, but Red picks up Makhno, Belarus. I had Ukraine over all the way in. They couldn't have had that because they took the troops instead of the right to gain Ukraine as an ally. So Ukraine is separatist here. We also gained, I forgot this stone, so that's probably victory points in Red's favor. That shouldn't have been there, but I think that's about it. Except that I have to figure out what to do about Poland now. I'm pretty sure the Polish troops don't become pro-red. But I haven't dealt with the rules yet for it. I guess it's time to face them and see if, as was suggested, my morale breaks completely there. I don't think it will. I think I'm fine. Okay, well, I looked at the Polish rules, and it doesn't look like anything's going to take effect from that. Now, from there, I went to victory points, where Oh, what the hell? Is there some 5-point difference in victory cities? So red's up to 9 total victory points. Remember, 30 wins the game. That's still a long way off. There's also an automatic victory, but that's like 6 red controlled white areas. All the red controlled home areas have to be red, and I have to own all of the Ukraine. So that's going to be pretty hard compared to just slogging it out for the victory points from what I can see. We might try for it, but now what we have is the infighting. And let's see, first thing we have, let's do white first, I guess. Not sure. Red comes first on here. Looks like red goes first, I guess. I don't know. I get this desertion counter. Desertion says I'm not behind in victory cities, so I have no effect. So I'm good. And I don't know where the hell these go. Up here. Okay. For the white ones, however, I didn't do anything with my Don Cossack, so I don't get boned from that. But I do have this VC minus FM, whatever. Yeah, okay. White loses a VC this turn. That happened. Red can shift 3 uncontrolled FCMs 1 space towards red control. That's going to hurt. Well, the only restriction on the Ukraine is I can't enter here during the political phase. But bang, there's one. And I'm going to be getting the Ukraine as a force. I believe that's how it says, political phase control. Yeah. So now I've got the Ukraine. Bang. That was nice. And they have a horde of troops. We'll see what that does. That may affect the Poles. They may not like that. But no war was declared or any such. What else can I move? Kind of like to pull the Western Ukraine. You know, let's solidify things we can. We'll grab the Transcaucasus. I can probably get that. And we'll grab the Finns. The other question was maybe Lithuania, but I can focus on Lithuania. So I'll set up those additional troops. Make sure that there's no effect on Poland, but I don't think there is. For Poland, I mean, some things can change by cards. But from what I see here, let's see what we got here. Poland's aggression now. Okay, so normal, triggered by these events, war is declared by either red or white, or play of certain red cards. Intervention is the Polish response table. That only happens if something happens. Whenever a red unit or leader, not a red-controlled faction, enters one of these territories, then I get to make a roll. So far I'm not doing that. And let's see what else here. So Polish forces may only move within Poland, but I don't get the forces because they're all the way over here. So basically, to get things completely, I have to end up with a war. And that will presumably trigger a movement of who controls Poland at that point, I hope. Otherwise, red having Poland would be very strange. I'm not going to bother looking that up. We'll see how it deploys out. It should be pretty, well, It should seem self-explanatory to me, but I've been told I was misplaying the combat rules completely in terms of the losses. And I don't see how. I looked at them again. Yeah, you know, unless they completely mean different from what they read to me, I don't see how that's the case. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to do a tutorial video if I'm completely wrong in my playing. All right, let's deploy those new units. Okay, so the Ukraine has something special here. I gained control by any other region method, so we use this variable setup chart here. So let's see. I roll a die to see if I get the leader. I need a 1. Okay, so it looks like he's removed from the game. What else? Army Republic, Pavlino. Let's see. There's the Army of the Republic. I get that. Sikh rifle. And yeah, there it is, the cow. I'm gonna get these. The peasants. Roll a die. Wonder if I roll for both. Oh, I just roll once. So I get a 3. They're gonna both go in the dead box. And then all core except 6 through 7 I'll be getting. And I'll try to figure out where to set them up. That was not specified within the little chart. Set up his variable. That's it. Well, I guess I can put them wherever I like. It looks like that. That's true with most of the factors. So, there's a weird situation here with the Finnish troops being set up there. Supposed to set up in Helsinki. This unit was here. It's of a different faction. I'm going to throw it up here. I'm not sure what should happen. Conceivably, perhaps these should all be in the dead pile and Finland should be rebuilt. But that seems a little harsh, considering. So there is a rule that if the whites had controlled Helsinki, it would be, these would be dead. But given that the Reds control it, I think they should be able to withdraw and keep that army. Not that they really need an additional advantage of those troops, but part of the reason I pushed Finland over was for the troops. So, you know, otherwise I'd be probably trying to, what was it that I'd be pushing? It was Lithuania. I'd be moving a space over because the whites are going to get an extra unit in Lithuania. Now, my hope here, no, that's not going to work. I've set my Ukrainians up to deal with the whites down here. My hope is that I can prevent a white conquest of, say, Belarus, which would cause real problems for me. But I don't know how likely that is. There's pretty strong Latvian forces that could swing into play here. And if I move Reds into Belarus to help defend it, that pisses Poland off. So that's the kind of thing I got to worry about. I could move Ukrainians up there, but I want the Ukrainians to grab Sevastopol before they do anything. If there's rail lines in here, there might be one there. Yeah, I might be able. No, I need the hub at Rostov, it looks like. Because this is not a road or anything else. It's just a dark black line to confuse me. So, I think I'll go with this, see what happens. I think there's a good chance I'm going to piss the Poles off, but that's okay. They're all the way over here. We'll see what that does. That may have some influence. Who cares? And right now I'm at building the replacement points, I guess, and possibly putting some additional IPs into play. White's got both sides have a few. Yeah, well, I got to count the replacement points because something like this has additional ones. Let's see. The Ukraine gives 1 RS for red or white per controlled Ukrainian victory city. And there was something else that had... I thought it was the other one that gave me something interesting. Something had... I don't remember which one. Something had some really weird wording on it, like smeared, and I couldn't read it. It had something about deaf whites or something. I thought it was the Ukraine. There it is. RS faction. Okay, 1 faction RS per controlled Ukrainian VC, plus 1 more if Detection. I don't know. I can't read that word. Oh well. Dectian. Maybe it's in the rules. But red is going to get 1 per controlled victory point city. So they're going to get an additional 3 for this turn from that. I've already given them the something. See, someone gives them additional. Turkestan does. I just got that. But I thought I had already captured that somewhere, so I may have already given them that one. Because I had the Turkestan card over here accidentally when... Oh, Turkestan should, yeah, it's the Transcaucasus that was over here for no good reason, but that doesn't give anything. Alright, yeah, and there aren't enough little fish bubbles in the game. Luckily I have a pile of them. Somebody sent me at random in with another game that I bought. Weird. Anyway, they've served useful purposes, but they really serve here, so that's what these oversized ones are, and they kind of work. These extra red reps don't matter because they're denied getting any, and I assume that includes using them for influence points or buying leaders or anything like that, so I just drained those. That's going to push us into turn 4, which is a winter turn. There are special rules for winter, which we'll be facing. Basically, it's harder to attack is the main thing. You end up in a limited supply where I think you get a shift against you or something. Yeah, this attacker 1 shift to the left. So it'll be a less exciting turn for them. And then after that, of course, mud. So, until we get to summer, things are probably going to slow down a bit. This was... I was kind of hoping to get more than 1 turn on a video, but I think this was a seminal enough turn, and I doubt we're going to make it very deep into the game, simply because I think red has pretty much won, and I think they're not that far from their automatic victory, actually, because they have the Ukrainian cities. They thought they'd have to attack them, which means, what do I have? I have 2 of the white cities already, so I need to get 4 more. That means white essentially can have 1 left, and I have to capture these 2, and that'll do it. Or of course the 30 victory points, which may happen quicker, given that my victory city total is nearly 10 a turn at this point. So Yeah. Oops. All right, let's send this one.